And welcome back to the Sideline Chat. It is now time for your Betfred Super League Week 11 debrief. And we start off with the first game of round 11 of the Betfred Super League, which sees Hull FC at home to the Wigan Warriors at the MKM Stadium in Hull.
Well, seriously, how Hull FC been going this year is just horrendous.
Well, to be fair, Hull did come up with the result against the Huddersfield Giants 20 points to 4 or in round 10 before the international break. Well, Wigan, of course, expected to do so, beat Wakefield Trinity 22 points to 6.
That was actually a lesser score. I thought Wigan were going to able to put like 60 on them. But no.
Once again, this man has literally not been able to keep himself out of the game. He's always found a way to get involved.
Can I have a guess?
And he's brought up an important milestone of 100 tries in Super League. It is Bevan French. Yep, Bevan French. 1 try assist, 85 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, and an offload to his name. But just Wigan's defense, rock solid once again. And then they just found all the space to breathe. Abbas Miski, though. How good has he been going for them?
He's been going pretty good for him. Didn't get much of a run over here in Australia NRL, but he's gone over there and it's gone. In the limited games he has had over there, he's gone pretty good.
Yeah, but it's the offload for French's try that brought up 100 career tries in Super League, that's an achievement in of itself.
That is a massive achievement from Bevan French. He's just, again, a try-scoring weapon.
He's a freak. He is a dead-set freak. He's like, I think they once said his try scoring rate was like a try a game just because he was just bagging tries every week.
It was nearly pretty much that.
He was unstoppable.
Also, there'll be periods where he don't score tries, but it's very rare that he has that period. He's usually scoring at least 1 or 2 a week.
As for Hull FC, they've come through with a rare win in 2023, downing the Huddersfield Giants. Liam Sutcliffe have stood tall for all the black and whites at home. 2 tries, 56 run meters. Yeah, it doesn't sound that good when you say it aloud. Really.
No.
But that's just the numbers as I read them. 2 tackle breaks and a line break. Really putting Huddersfield's right side to shame.
Which is very surprising.
8-all. It was 8-all at the break, if I remember reading correctly.
That seems about right. But no one would have predicted Hull FC to win that one, considering how shit they've been playing this year.
No, they
and
wouldn't.
How much they got destroyed by the crosstown rivals round a week prior to last.
On Good Friday.
Yes.
It was a massacre for Hull FC as KR just ran in try after try after try.
Yeah. Hull FC weren't in that one either. And yeah, I mean, this is somewhat of a confidence booster for Hull FC, considering the start of the season they've had.
Remember, they started out 2 wins from the first 2 games. They were actually flying.
Yeah, but then they went downhill ever since. This is their first win probably since round 2, I think.
Yeah, when they actually beat the Leeds Rhinos. They've since been on what seemed like a 6 or 7 game losing run. Hard to believe that was the case.
What, for Hull FC?
Yeah.
No, it's not hard to believe to see how crap they've been playing. Seriously, even the results show it though. Especially against, like we just said, Hull KR, their defence was non-existent.
No, you're quite right. It has been non-existent for Hull. They have just leaked points left, right, and centre.
So the 6 to 7, whatever it is, losing streak does not surprise me though.
Yeah, no, it was 7 games before beating Huddersfield at home. So they've secured their second home win of the season in another poor record as well. They'll be buoyed by the rest they got, and of course Liggy Sow extending his time at the MKM for another 2 years. As for Wigan, I don't know if they're going to choose to rest their England representatives, because England, of course, massive demolition derby against France where they ended up winning 64-0.
Both men and women
almost got cleaned up by an advertising board. He slid into the end goal. It was a 20-metre restart, and it was just he just didn't stop. The rain was just pouring that heavily.
He just slid along the ground.
He almost took a Frenchman with him, which as many diehard Englishmen would be saying, "Good on you, son. You took one of the Frenchies with you."
Probably would have.
But yeah, very lucky he pulled out of that in one piece.
Would have been
Harry Smith, he had a good game for England as well. Oh, like 15 players.
His debut.
Out of that, yeah, his debut. Interesting numbers, just getting on to England versus France for a moment. John Wells said if natural progression took place, no injuries, no suspensions, through to the 2025 World Cup in France, Harry Smith would have more than 150 career appearances to his name by the time France 2025 rolled round.
Wow.
And he's only got about less than 100. He could have 150 plus. Same story. Morgan Smithies, Ethan Havard, who also are amongst the large Wigan and contingent that play. They could all have greater than 130 career appearances. Same story with Matty Nicholson from Warrington and Tom Holroyd of Leeds. They said 75 plus games for both of them. Just like England took a future policy first. Like they named a squad of 40. It got whittled down to 19, with many regulars pulling out, and of course the NRL players that don't play any of those mid-year internationals because commitments. But yeah, like 15 of those 19, barring George Williams, and a couple of others, they all played in the England development pathways, playing for the England Knights before making their senior appearance. That's a massive achievement.
It certainly is, and England was a young squad.
A very young squad.
But they absolutely tore France to shreds.
George Williams, easily the man of the match.
Oh,
Hat-trick he scored, 3 try assists he had, and then a couple of line breaks, aches and all-line dropouts smutted in there.
Who was the goal? He wasn't his goal kicker.
Harry Smith was.
That's right, he was too, yeah.
It's just
his half partner.
Ace with the boot. But
and his first time being captain of England as well.
After succeeding Sam Tompkins, who of course announced his retirement.
Between now and then when George Williams retires, England captain right there. In George Williams.
I have no doubt. He's contracted through to the end of 2024, so he'll be right to go. Of course, England have got the big test series against Tonga later in the year, here in the spring. And
you know what?
There is word that they're setting up Toa Samoa for a test series in 2024. So they'll get to play 6 test matches all up, 6 internationals against quality Pacific Islander sides.
Ahead of the World Cup.
And of course, they'll continue to keep France in the loop because they're important to develop as well. You know, Southern Hemisphere development, Northern Hemisphere development. I think it's both important. So, like I said.
But ahead of the 2025
King,
World
Wardle,
Cup, that's...
Smith, and Havard all played for England in that international against France. Do you expect them to back up?
Some yes, some no.
All right, who do you reckon backs up then?
Well, I don't think Smith will.
So you reckon he'll be rested just to ease the workload?
Yes, because of his stellar season that's been happening. You don't want to overload him too much, and he's only young in his career too. I don't I think will back up.
Kai Pearce-Paul, another one. Do you play him or do you rest him too?
I'd rest him too.
I suppose it depends because we don't have an injury list available yet. The RFL haven't, or one of the RFL's.
But Hull FC are somewhat an easy
websites.
Opponent for Wigan.
Yeah,
compared to where Wigan are
depends
playing.
what happens because the squads get announced at lunchtime tomorrow, so we don't know what happens until then. But
the rate that Hull FC been playing to what Wigan have been playing, Wigan can afford to rest like Smith and Pearce-Paul.
I'm going to assume it because they're going to get a week's rest. I think they all back up. Everyone who played for England and France, they back up over this weekend.
Fair enough.
So if that's the case, I'm going to say Wigan win 21 plus.
Look,
it will do Harry Smith all the world of confidence that he made his first appearance for England. He'll be feeling good about that. He scored a try, nailed 90% of his goals. So I see no reason why the Wigan contingent don't back up. So Wigan dominate.
Even if Smith and Pearce-Paul don't back up, which are the 2 players I think will get rested. Even if they don't back up, Wigan will still win this one 21 plus. the form that we're going to be in compared to what Hull will stay been in is just a massive difference.
Now moving on to the main Saturday game, aims over the course of this weekend, the Leeds Rhinos will be playing host to the Salford Red Devils at Headingley.
Yeah. Salford have been a bit hard to get a read on again this season. Same with the Rhinos. Although the Rhinos have been a little bit more consistent than what Salford have been.
Well, Leeds went down to the Leopards 20 points to 6 at the Lee Sports Village, while Salford a narrow escape against the Catalan Dragons 16 points to 14.
That was a very lucky win there from Salford.
I've got to
Very,
say,
very lucky.
Joe Burgess, that 80-metre try he scored off the quick tap from Reece Williams, that instantly, for me, made him my standout player for Salford for that week. 58 run meters, I should say, to go over the try, 9 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and an offload. That was sort of the try that broke the camel's back for Salford and for Catalan, I should say, as a whole.
Yeah, it certainly did. And that how Salford played against Catalans is what we were starting to see last year, but it just hadn't really carried over to the start of this year yet.
And to be fair, Salford have now strung 3 straight wins together before the international break, and they'll be looking to put 4 wins on the board, and they're really starting to make some moves. They're currently 5th on the table, half the points differential the Catalan Dragons have got at the moment, so I can easily see a big win for them, a loss for the Dragons, and they could easily pressure Hull KR for 3rd on the table.
Well, considering how shit of a start Salford had to this season, like they were a bit hot and cold to start the year. They are starting to gain momentum and, like you just said, string wins together.
I expect, of course, Tom Holroyd and Ash Hanley to both back up. I think Hanley was one of England's second best, as with the hat-trick he scored himself, out of position on the right wing. No, Hanley's played for England before. But he was playing right wing rather than play on the left. But to accommodate Matty Ashton, he played on the right, and outside George Williams, it worked a treat.
It certainly did. It never looked like... Well, nothing stopped him playing out of position. That doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to perform well. He performed perfectly. What did he score? 3 tries? Ash Hanley or 2?
He scored a hat-trick as well.
Got a hat-trick, I thought he did. But yeah, that's what you do. You play out of position. No problem. But now we know he can play on both sides of the field. So if he has to shift across and for some oddly matter, he can do it. Which is what I think Rowan Smith would have kept an eye on.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be the case. I think if Leeds can keep James Bentley's discipline in check, who knows? But they've been hot and cold, just like Salford had. I mean, they put 2 wins together before the break, but then go down to Lee at the Lee Sports Village. Edwin Apape airing their goal line defence up in 2. 2 tries Edwin Apape scores, 68 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, and a line break. They just worked over Leeds middle, and of course, Rowan Smith paid the price for it. Back at home, the Rhinos have had a very strong home record. They've only lost, they lost the Hull FC in round 2 or 3, but since then, round 2. But since then, they have not lost a single home game, including beating Hull again, as well as knocking Catalan off in a come-from-behind win, and Wakefield dominated. So they're feeling pretty confident on their home record at this point in the campaign.
Very, very true. But, so basically both looking to string some wins together. Leeds more so than Salford, because Salford, as you just said, have got 3 on the trot. Leeds haven't had that many on the trot, but...
And, of course, beating the Huddersfield Giants on Easter Monday. So there you go. So that makes it 4 straight wins for Wakefield at home.
You mean Leeds at home?
For Leeds at home, yeah.
Yeah. Wakefield are lucky to get 4 in a row in the season. I'm still going to stick with my guys, the Red Devils, 7-12. I'm running about going 1-6 or 7-12. I think Salford will just get the upper edge, but that was before he said the stats about the Rhinos and their home record this season. But anyway,
I'm going to back Leeds' home record to get them over the line here. They've had a cup. They've been inconsistent, as I've said. They have had patches of brilliance where they have played a treat. I think if Blake Austin gets his running game right, and again, if Aiden Caesar just controls it, the half step up, Leeds win. I'd say the Rhinos at home, 1-6 winners over the Salford Red Devils.
Fair enough.
Shifting gears once more, we move over to the Boroughs once again. The Lee Leopards at home to the Castleford Tigers. Oh, Castleford. They just invent new ways to lose.
They certainly do. What more do we have to say about Castleford this season that I haven't already said?
Well, we've said plenty about Wakefield, and Castleford have been closer to the bottom. Of course, they just officially announced that Andy Last was now the permanent Castleford head Tigers coach. He's no longer the interim. He is now the coach, so...
I thought that was going to make a case.
Definitively, he is now the head man at the Jungle, but he
For how long, though? Is that just for this season, then they reassess? Or is that for a couple
I don't
of seasons?
think that's the case. I think moving forward, they've agreed that to be the case. I'll just quickly search that up now, because the luxury of having a laptop next to you, you can easily look for what you need out of it. So
That's if you know what you're looking for precisely and can look at in a hurry. Because as all professional podcasters, like we are, we can look, we do things on the run and have no preparation.
2.5 year
whatsoever.
contract.
There you go. So to the end of 2025.
Yeah. So he...
Unless he gets
Long-term.
sacked in between now and then.
Yeah, which, given the fact that Lee Radford mutually parted ways, this is the case. But they kicked a drop goal when they were up 6-all, and they kicked a drop goal with 20 minutes to go.
Yep, that didn't work for him, didn't it?
No, it didn't. And that result, the 12 points to 7 loss to Hull KR, was a dire game. And it was like, what even is this?
That wasn't even, it didn't even seem like to be like a rugby league game. I don't know what sort of game you'd call it, but it definitely didn't seem to be a rugby league game.
I mean, to be fair, they didn't have Niall Evalds. There was no Gareth Widdop. There was no Nathan Massey, Lewis Johnson, or Daniel Smith. They were all out. They had to move Jack Broadbent into the halves again, and which has worked a treat, to be honest. Broadbent has looked comfortable as a running standoff.
Yes, that is very true, my boy.
But Liam Watts was a loose cannon, getting sin-binned.
Yep.
But the second try to Matt Parcell just broke it again for the Castleford. Miller kicks a drop goal to get to the lead, but Hull KR just find a way to finish it off.
Somehow. I mean, Hull KR have been playing pretty consistently somewhat
The
this
recent
year.
recruit to Craven Park, Corey Hall, was the best man on the ground for the Robins in that result. 1 try, 106 run meters, 5 tackle breaks, a line break, and 2 offloads, ultimately showing Wakefield fans he's playing for a better club and will probably stay there going forward.
I mean, why would you go back to a
You wouldn't want to go
horrific woeful club
You
like
wouldn't want to
Wakefield?
go to Wakefield at this point in time, but that's not...
I don't think the Wakefield players want to play for Wakefield the rate they've been playing this season.
Well, there's all the talk. I mean, they're in the danger zone for relegation, so half the squad's probably now trying to size their options up, now that it's May 1st, that they can negotiate for 2024.
A lot earlier than what they do in Australia.
Now, they've got to go up against the Lee Leopards, of course. They backed their defence against the Leeds Rhinos to get the job done, and Josh Charnley, the top try scorer at the moment, absolutely
He's
lighting
killing it for the
Super League
Leopards.
up for the Leopard-printed men. And from the Boroughs, 12 tries to Tom Johnston's 11 and Liam Marshall all in third on 9.
He's been killing it for the Leopards this year. He's been one of their best players.
And of course, we
To
get to
date.
see the best out of Edwin Ipape as well. Also, of course, now that Lee have really got some good solid foundation to work with, of course, shaky start, didn't win their first 2 games, but they won the next 2 after that, and are looking for a 3rd straight win and building for back-to-back home wins. So I think the Leopards do just that. I think think there's
Well, it's against Castleford, who have been pretty poor this season
7 to 12.
themselves.
The Leopards win for me.
I'm going to say Leopards win this one 13 to 20. Purely based that Castleford have been playing shit this season and are lucky to only have a couple wins to their name.
Now, as for Hull KR, they will be at home once again to the Huddersfield Giants. I mean, what do you do about Huddersfield? Because they're sort of had, well, I mean, gameless, as we've said before, but they haven't really put more than 3 straight wins together at all this year. They've put 2 together in 2 separate periods, just once, actually. Down in Wakefield, Ilden away, and then demolishing Castleford at home. But since then, 2-point loss to Wigan, 2-point loss to St Helens. They get the win against Salford. They blow the lead on Easter Monday against Leeds. Down Catalan, surprisingly, and then go down to Hull FC at Craven Park.
So they've been a bit hot and cold, you could say.
Yeah, and the worst part about that was their first choice spine, barring Theo Farge, was all together. Price at fullback, Connor and Lola here in the halves with Nathan Peets at dummy half. They should have been able to guide that one home.
Yeah, they should have. That's a pretty strong spine right there, but also didn't click for some reason.
And you look at this entire forward pack. Chris Hill, Matty English, Chris McQueen, Harvey Levette, Luke Yates. They should have gotten the job done, but they didn't.
No.
And that's really surprising me. Then again, Hull's got a big forward pack, so they had a bit of a weight leverage that they could use. And they certainly
True, but sometimes that doesn't always mean a good thing, though. Sometimes they can still get beaten with the forward pack size difference.
Look, Hull KR's home record, again, like Leeds, is very strong at the moment, and there's a good, confident buzz around that camp at the moment. I think the Robins win 7 to 12 at home.
Yeah, the Robins have been playing pretty good this year and have been fairly consistent, you could say.
Well, third on the table, and they have won their last 5 straight. They are 7-3.
Okay, so very, very consistent as of late. I'm gonna say
they are pressuring both Wigan and Warrington. 1 win separates the top 3 teams at the moment.
Still a long way to go, though.
Yep, we're only a third of the way through the campaign at the moment, so the second third has just begun. We'll see where it builds from there.
But I think Hull KR win this one 13-20 again.
Now, the Warrington Wolves, speaking of the top 2 sides, up against the bottom side on the table, Wakefield Trinity.
One-way traffic.
Well, Warrington...
George Williams are back up.
Warrington got towed up by St Helens last time out after a narrow 7-point loss to Wigan. They just let the defence slip completely.
Yeah.
And Darryl Powell has said those 3 games, Catalan, Wigan, St Helens, will tell the whole league where the Warrington Wolves sit at the moment.
Yeah. Because they're the top 3 teams in the league.
And after an 8-0 start, they've let the ball drop. I mean, literally, they've let it drop. Matt Duffy sold the biggest dummy you'll see ever.
Bloody oath
That was embarrassing. They could not get into the game against the champions, who have been undermanned for a large part of the season.
So far. But yeah, it's, as you say, and as, what's his name? Eddie. I've gone blank, can't remember his last name.
Hemmings.
That's it. They never write off the Saints.
Well, no, certainly not. And losing Paul Vaughan didn't help the case, who's been amongst their best performers, but George Williams was as well. 16-6 at halftime, and then they let in another 2 tries after the break. Conrad Hurrell, an absolute demolition man on the right side for the Saints. 1 try assist, 169 running meters, a tackle break, and 3 offloads. You'd swear he was playing like a front row at the moment.
I mean, it is Conrad Hurrell. What do you expect, though?
And the good news for the Saints, Alex Walmsley is closing in on a return. They said a couple of weeks back, the England break would have helped his case. So it's going to be back.
Maybe next week.
They said against Warrington, that didn't happen. Maybe he would have been back against Warrington, and due to his troublesome hamstring at the moment. But the international break would have helped, and he'll be ready to go against the Dragons in the south of France.
For
Wakefield, they actually are buoyed, potentially, by the return of Luke Gale, who's signed on until the end of 2024. He's signing an 18-month deal with the bottom place Wakefield.
As much as he's a quality player on his day, I don't think that's going to help Wakefield, though.
34 years old at the moment is Luke Gale. More than 350 career appearances at all levels of the British game. For Doncaster, the London Broncos, Bradford, Castleford, Leeds, Hull FC, and of course the Keighley Cougars, where he has spent some time in the Championship, with then 10 caps for England to his name, with the final appearance he made in the 2017 World Cup final.
I think this will be his last contract in the Super League, and altogether, to be quite honest with you, professionally.
Oh wow, he's really trying to sell the dream of Wakefield. Oh, this is directly from Luke Gale, direct quotes from when he signed. Quote, "There are plenty of talented players in the group. I'm hoping my leadership and voice can guide the players around the park so the likes of Lace and Lino can play off the back of that."
Has he not been watching the Super League this year?
Having played at Bellevue many times, I know the fans are passionate and love their rugby. Our sole focus now is getting back on the field and putting our best foot forward, which starts this Friday at Warrington.
Well, if you get rid of your stupid 3G turf, that'll help.
Well, hybrid turf.
Hybrid turf, whatever.
So he's trying to sell the dream. 34 years old. You're probably right in saying this is his last contract. So Mark Applegarth has gone to the boss of the Cougars and said, "We have an opportunity for Luke Gale. We're hoping he says
begging
yes."
on his knees.
Yeah, begging. I imagine begging has been going on. You're going to tell me that a 34-year-old Luke Gale, who has not played Super League since last year, on and off with Hull FC, who have been struggling themselves all throughout last year, and you're telling me, at the rate the Keighley Cougars are going at the moment, which, to be fair, up until that point, they were actually running 2 places outside the top 6 in the Betfred Championship.
Yeah, right.
But their last 2 league results, a 34-6 demolishing at home at the hands of Toulouse Olympique, which was preceded by a 22-10 win against York, and their last result, which would have been Luke Gale's last game, to be fair, a 34-16 loss to the Batley Bulldogs in the Challenge Cup tie.
Yeah, right. So a few mixed results there for the Cougars and Gale, but yeah, I don't. As much as Luke Gale is very experienced in that, I don't think that's going to help Wakefield.
Warrington win 13-20. George Williams, I think, will bounce.
Oh, bloody oath, he will
back
bounce
up
back
after the England International, and he will destroy.
Warrington 21 plus.
Yeah, Warrington.
No other option.
0-11. They're good. Honestly, Wakefield's running to be the worst record imaginable. They're gunning for 14 straight losses at this point. Close to it.
Maybe even a whole season loss.
Now, the main event on Friday, a local time, the Catalan Dragons at home to the reigning champion St. Helens. Now, we speculate Alex Walmsley will be fit for this game. As for Catalan, Arthur Morgue, César Rouge, they were probably amongst France's better performers in that 64-0 drubbing.
Well, yeah, but...
Well, I mean,
they've got no points on the board.
The 40-20 César Rouge.
True.
Because remember, even though England scored within 4 minutes, France weren't dicking around. They kicked a 40-20, and if they could just find a way to break through England's goal line defence, because defensively, when France had the ball, they just couldn't break through.
No, they couldn't. That was pretty much really one of very few highlights there for the French side against England.
Yeah, and look, Catalan they're in trouble. I will just say it point blank. They have lost their last 3 games straight, and they've got a resurgent reigning champions coming back at them.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good matchup.
Look, they've had some tight results, the Dragons, but dropping games to Huddersfield,
Which isn't like
letting
them.
that game against Leeds slip,
Which isn't like them at all.
that's not good.
I mean, they haven't had their full proper starting strong 13 for a long time too, mind you.
Well, that's to be fair. The Dragons have had trouble.
They haven't had Sam Tompkins for a while.
And they did have to play with Seja Rouge, who's not playing that game against Salford, nor Julian Bousquet or Taiki Chan.
Yeah.
But where I'm really struggling to think where the Catalan Dragons could go. Oh, I mean, they could bring Mike McMeekin into the start at the front row. They could bring Ben Garcia to loose forward from dummy half. Sam Tompkins starting in the halves. But even with Tompkins, it just didn't work out for Catalan one bit. And you look at how they've had to line up all year long based on the first appearance. Matthew Laguerre's missed game time, even though
Yes.
Michael McAlorum missed 3 weeks straight up, which doesn't help the case. Mitchell Pearce,
With injury.
Sam Tompkins has only played half the season, really.
With injury.
Yeah, Mitchell Pearce hasn't even played, so they've had to deal.
Mitchell Pearce, I thought he's played it
Twice.
Twice, yeah. And that's
twice
because of injury too.
Yeah, he's played on April Fool's Day and March 25th, which were, if I double.
Wasn't it one of the games against Salford? No. Let's say Salford's playing Catalans for some reason. He was playing it, but I could be wrong.
Now that result was round 7.
Well, there you go.
And that was when the Tigers came to the south of France and lost. But Catalan have been up against it. But I think when you got the reigning champions coming at you, and if they Wellesley's going to back up, Lewis Dodd, anyone who's had injury concerns, they'll have an extra week to heal up, rest up, and get ready to go for a charge at the top 4 on the table.
You were saying Alex Walmsley will play this week. I personally think they won't play him this week, considering they're away from the country in France. I think they'll give that extra week off and come back against. I think he'll be back against Salford.
So you reckon he'll play Salford rather than Catalan?
Yep. Back at home and just a bit extra cautious instead of playing and getting re-injuring again away from home.
21+ win for St. Helens, I think.
Oh, that's a big margin.
If everyone's fit, which I think they will, St. Helens are going to open and breathe fire.
I'm going to say St. Helens win this one 7-12. Castleford will give... not Castleford. Catalans will give it their all. But St. Helens will still be too strong in the end.
Now, just one more thing before we go. The Toronto Wolfpack. There's a name we haven't heard for a while.
No, it's been a little while since then.
Now, just in case, if you've forgotten who the hell the Toronto Wolfpack are.
They're a Canadian rugby league club.
They are the first Canadian rugby league club to break into the British rugby league system.
Which did
of course,
they
started League One 2017, spent 3 years working their way up to Super League, unfortunately in 2020. So, of course, as the way the story goes, COVID hits, Toronto lose all their money, and then they are expelled from Super League altogether. They try and get restarted with a new consortium that took over, tried their luck with North America Rugby League, but that seemed to have fallen through as well.
The whole competition seems to be gone through. I haven't heard much about that.
But now, we got a new statement from the new consortium owners. Is that they'd like the opportunity... They've taken this opportunity to announce the Wolfpack will return in 2023. Despite their faith in the proposed North America Rugby League competition and the best efforts to make it a reality, they've decided to take control of their own destiny and grow their own competition in Canada. So as a result, we'll be hosting the Toronto Wolfpack Canada Cup. A minimum of 10 games this season at their home at Lamport Stadium, Toronto, hosting rugby league teams from the United States and Canada, and they are working hard with at least one international match for the 2023 season, and to have at least expected a minimum of 15 home games in 2024 with 3 away games in the United States. It's planning 18 games all up, and they are just saying to stay tuned. We'd also like this opportunity to thank all the loyal Wolfpack fans for your patience, support, and running with the pack. So,
who will they be playing against, though?
they just say hosting teams from the United States and from Canada. So I'd imagine whoever is looking to get a start in their competition, they're effectively running. But hey, good on them. They waited on the Americans to try and get something set up for them. It fell through. And then half of the teams proposed for North America Rugby League just went off and formed United Rugby League instead.
So we haven't heard much about that, though, which is disappointing because it was looking like to be all right.
But I think this could work out for Toronto a little bit more. And I think finally these guys have gotten back on their feet at long last. And if they're incorporating other Canadian teams as well as those in the US, I think this is only a good sign that rugby league on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean can finally get going.
You'd hope so, because it's... I want to grow rugby league, but you kind of need that American input. But rugby league in America will be a bit hard considering how big the NFL and other sports are like.
And not to mention, even with American Rugby League itself, it's fractious administrative relationship because there's literally like several different competitions set up nationwide. All 50 states have got their own ideas. Like, there's the United States of America Rugby League, which is recognized by the IRL, who, of course, we spoke to their former chairman, Danny Hansen, before, mainly concentrated nowadays in the southeastern corner across Florida. Then you got United Rugby League with all the teams from Boston, from Delaware, and the northern parts of the country. Then you got the California Rugby League, Eagle Championship Rugby League, with a whole host of teams made up from California, Las Vegas, and the surrounding area. And then you've got probably Tennessee, I'm aware of. They've got, the Rugby League, the Tennessee Highway, amen. They've got all these smaller teams across the other 50 states as well. It's just hard to get a read of a clear, coherent direction because of the length and breadth of the US, geographically speaking.
Yeah, it's a bit hard, but
it would definitely be good to get Toronto or someone from the Toronto Wolfpack on to sort of explain how this Canada Cup is going to work for them. But good on them, finally getting going after 3 years of exile.
It's been a long time, and obviously your loyal fans will stick through with them. And it's good to see that name back out in the wild, you could say, after going into the wilderness for such a long time.
Release the wolves. Now,
yeah, you said it.
On that positive note, it is full time here from us. If you like this part or the NRL part that followed up the day earlier, we uploaded it from now. Make sure you leave it a like, hit subscribe, and click that bell to allow for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Don't forget to give us a follow on our social media pages. We post all our tips and stand-up leaderboards up there. On Facebook and on Instagram, it is at Sideline Chat. And on Twitter, it is Sideline Chat RL, #SideChatYT. Hope you enjoy the Magic Round this weekend. It is going to be a fantastic experience.
Bloody, I think it will be.
It's to watch. Or if you're attending, it's going to be amazing, I reckon.
Us boys. Sorry.
But
not.
It's going to be a massive experience. And if you're going to it, and I hope you do enjoy it. As for the Super League, well, good luck. Because if you're Wakefield, you're going to need it. Along with Mark Henry, I'm Connor Marcellus. You have been listening to the Sideline Chat. We'll see you next week.
Catch you.